The mysterious warship emerges. The galaxy had always been ruled by the powerful and the strange. Aliens of various shapes and sizes controlled vast sectors of space. Each empire had its own territory, and no one dared to challenge their dominance. For centuries, the galaxy had been at peace, with only minor skirmishes breaking out between rival species. It was a time of stability, a time where the powerful controlled everything. But rumors began to spread, quietly at first, whispers in the shadows. They spoke of a warship, a massive ship like none seen before. Its dark, sleek design was unlike anything the galaxy's most advanced alien races could ever imagine. No one knew who owned it, but one thing was clear: it was human. At first, the rumors were dismissed as nothing more than the fanciful stories of space pirates and traders, always eager for attention. After all, humanity had always been seen as a primitive species. Earth was nothing more than a speck of dust in the grand expanse of the galaxy. No one believed the humans had the power or the technology to build a warship that could rival the mighty fleets of the alien empires. But as the whispers continued, they began to grow louder. The rumors weren't just coming from fringe groups or random spacefarers anymore. Even high-ranking officials within the largest alien empires were starting to take notice. Strange disappearances, unexplained battles, and mysterious encounters had been reported across the galaxy. Every time, there was a hint of a warship with the symbol of humanity, an emblem not seen in centuries. The Galactic Council, an assembly of the most powerful alien species, called an emergency meeting. The council consisted of the leaders of the strongest empires, creatures with unimaginable power and technology. They met in a massive chamber, a room so large it could fit the fleets of entire star systems. The leader of the council, an imposing alien called Votak, a creature of scales and flame-like eyes, stood at the head of the table. His voice echoed through the chamber as he addressed the assembled leaders. "There is something new in the galaxy," Votak began. "Something human." A murmur ran through the room. The other leaders exchanged uneasy glances, their minds struggling to comprehend what was being said. "We've received reports from several sectors. Ships gone missing, entire fleets destroyed without warning. There's a new force in the galaxy, and it's not like anything we faced before. It's human." Votak's words hit the room like a shockwave. The alien empires had seen countless invaders over the centuries, races that had tried to claim parts of the galaxy for themselves. But humanity had always been seen as too weak, too insignificant to challenge the galactic order. One of the council members, a robotic species known as the Xelkrans, spoke up. "Are you suggesting that humans have somehow built a warship capable of defeating our fleets? That is impossible." Votak nodded slowly, his eyes glowing. "The reports are clear. There's a human warship out there, and it is more powerful than anything we've ever encountered." The room fell silent. The leaders of the various empires exchanged worried looks. The Xelkrans, known for their cold logic and intelligence, were hesitant. But even they couldn't deny the possibility that something powerful and dangerous was out there, something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The rumors were no longer rumors. The warship existed, and it was human. Far from the council, in the deep reaches of space, the human warship glided silently through the void. It was a ship unlike any other. Its hull was sleek, matte black, blending into the darkness of space. The ship was not adorned with flashy weapons or colorful insignias. It had a simple, clean design. But its power was undeniable. It was a ship built for one purpose: to fight, to survive, and to dominate. On board the ship, the crew was a mix of hardened soldiers, scientists, and tacticians, each of them handpicked for their skills. They were the best humanity had to offer. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, but even they had no idea what lay ahead. Captain Elena Drake stood on the bridge of the warship, staring out into the vastness of space. Her face was calm, but inside, her heart raced. She knew the rumors. She knew the galaxy's fear of her ship. She had trained for this moment, but the weight of it felt heavier than she ever imagined. Her crew, her fellow soldiers, were ready, but the unknowns still lingered. They were about to face a galaxy that had never truly believed in them. "Captain," a voice called from behind her. It was her second in command, Lieutenant Simon Harris. "What is it, Lieutenant?" Elena replied without turning, her eyes still fixed on the stars ahead. "The Council is meeting. They've issued a galactic alert. They know we're out here," Harris said. "They're scared." Elena nodded. She had expected this. The galaxy was filled with empires that had never once considered the human race a threat. Now, they would learn what humanity was capable of. "They'll come for us, eventually," Elena said quietly. "But they're not ready for what's coming. Humanity might be small, but we're stronger than they think." As she spoke, the warship's engines hummed quietly, ready to move at a moment's notice. The galaxy was about to witness something no one could have predicted. The human warship was no longer just a rumor. It was real, and its arrival would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The galaxy's greatest fear was beginning to take shape. The human warship was out there, and it was unlike anything anyone had ever faced. The stories were true, and soon, the entire galaxy would know the power of humanity's most feared weapon. The question was no longer if the galaxy could survive humanity's wrath, but rather how much of the galaxy would be left when the warship's mission was complete. The unseen power. The silence in space was deafening as the human warship glided deeper into the uncharted sectors of the galaxy. The vast emptiness of the cosmos stretched endlessly before them, but Captain Elena Drakes knew better than anyone that danger could strike at any moment. Her ship, though feared, was still an unknown entity to many in the galaxy. For all its power, it was still an enigma. Inside the warship, the atmosphere was tense. The crew moved with purpose, their actions synchronized in a way that spoke to years of training and preparation. There was no room for mistakes here. This was no ordinary ship. It was humanity's last hope, its weapon of survival in a galaxy where they were often dismissed as weak. Lieutenant Harris stood beside Elena as she studied the data streams flashing across the bridge's monitors. The tactical scans showed several enemy ships entering the vicinity. They were from the same alien race that had once been the galaxy's top threat, the Tsarn Empire. Known for their brutal tactics and unrelenting invasions, the Tsarn had held the galaxy in fear for centuries. But now things were different. "They're closing in," Harris said, his voice betraying a hint of tension. He was the most experienced officer in the fleet, but even he couldn't hide his nerves. "We've been tracking them for hours. They've noticed us, Captain, and they're preparing to attack." Elena turned to him, her expression calm. "They don't know what they're up against," she replied quietly. "They'll learn soon enough." The human warship, though smaller and less heavily armored than most of the Tsarn ships, had a unique advantage: its speed and stealth. It was built for one purpose: surprise. Unlike the heavy, lumbering warships of the alien empires, the human ship moved like a shadow, striking when its enemies least expected it. The warship's energy systems hummed softly, drawing power from a combination of human ingenuity and stolen alien technology. It wasn't flashy, but it was efficient. No one had expected humanity to catch up with the rest of the galaxy's advanced races, but the human race had proven them wrong. Every piece of technology aboard the warship had been designed for maximum efficiency, with an emphasis on precision and destruction. As the Tsarn ships neared, the human crew went into full battle readiness. Elena's heart raced, but her face remained stoic. She had been in countless battles before, but this felt different. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about making a statement. Humanity was not to be underestimated. "Initiating stealth mode," Harris said, his fingers dancing over the console. "They'll never see us coming." The warship's exterior lights dimmed, and the hum of the engines grew softer as the ship's systems activated its cloaking technology. It wasn't perfect, but it would buy them enough time to strike first. The Tsarn ships, even with their advanced sensors, would be unable to detect them until it was too late. The bridge fell into a tense silence. Alina's crew was ready. They had trained for this moment, waiting for the day they would face a galaxy that would not believe in them until it was too late. Now that day had come. Outside the warship, the Tsarn ships continued their approach. They were confident, as all invaders had been when they underestimated the power of the humans. As they drew closer, their weapons charged up, eager to unleash destruction. But Alina's crew was prepared. The enemy would not get the first strike. The human warship, silent and unseen, moved into position. "Firing range is locked," Harris reported. "Take them out," Alina ordered. The moment the command was given, the warship's advanced weapons systems came to life. A series of devastating blasts shot from the ship's concealed weapons arrays, striking the lead Tsarn ship with pinpoint accuracy. The alien ship didn't even have time to retaliate before it was torn apart. The explosion was a brief flash of light in the darkness of space. The Tsarn fleet was thrown into chaos. They had been expecting a fight, but they had never anticipated an attack from such an invisible force. By the time they realized what was happening, the human warship was already on the move, striking again and again. One Tsarn ship after another was destroyed, each explosion sending shockwaves through the ranks of the alien fleet. The Tsarn admiral, aboard the flagship, looked out in horror as his fleet was annihilated. His ships were no match for the relentless power and precision of the human warship. Panic spread through the Tsarn ranks as they tried to regroup, but it was too late. The human warship, though it had not fired a single traditional shot, had already claimed victory. Its power wasn't in its weapons. It was in its strategy, its speed, and its sheer unpredictability. The Tsarn had never faced an enemy like this. They had never faced humanity. As the last Tsarn ship exploded in the distance, Alina allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. This battle was over, but it was just the beginning. The galaxy would know now that humanity was not weak, that it was not to be underestimated. And yet the fight was far from finished. Alina knew that the warship's presence would send ripples through the galaxy. The galaxy's most powerful empires were about to realize that they had a new enemy, a force they couldn't ignore. As the crew celebrated their victory, Alina's thoughts turned to the future. What would happen when the rest of the galaxy came for them? Would they be ready? She turned to Harris. "Prepare for the next wave," she said. "This warship is just the beginning. They'll be hunting us soon enough." But no matter how hard they came, Alina knew one thing for certain. Humanity was ready to fight back, and they wouldn't stop until the galaxy knew exactly what humans were capable of. The power of the human warship had been revealed, and with it, the galaxy would never be the same. The first encounter. The victory against the Tsarn fleet was a victory for humanity, but it also sent a message. A warning to the rest of the galaxy that the human warship was not just a myth. The whispers of its power spread quickly, crossing borders and galaxies, and soon, the entire galaxy was on alert. But not everyone was afraid. Some, like the Varkian Empire, an ancient alien race with vast star systems and legendary fleets, saw the destruction of the Tsarn as a challenge. The Varkian Empire, once considered the supreme force in the galaxy, had ruled without opposition for centuries. Now they were furious that an unknown human warship had the audacity to strike at one of their closest allies. The Varkians were coming, and they were determined to crush this human threat before it could spread any further. Captain Alina Drake stood at the warship's command center, her face set in determination. Reports flooded in from the ship's sensors. Multiple Varkian fleets were on the move, heading toward the human warship's last known location. This wasn't just a skirmish anymore. The Varkian Empire, the galaxy's most powerful military force, had decided to make an example out of humanity. "Captain, we've detected 3 Varkian battle groups," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice tense. "They're not just coming in small numbers. They're bringing everything they have. This is their largest fleet in years. Alina's expression remained calm, but inside, her heart was racing. The Varkians had never fought a human ship before, and their arrogance could be their downfall. But this was no time for overconfidence. The Varkian fleet was powerful, and their ships were massive, armed with energy weapons capable of obliterating entire planets. "We'll take them by surprise," Alina said, gripping the armrests of her command chair. "Prepare the crew for battle. We need to move fast." Despite the overwhelming odds, the crew of the human warship was ready. Each member had trained for this moment, prepared for the day they would face the galaxy's mightiest forces. The ship's engines roared to life, and the warship began its descent toward the heart of the Varkian fleet. As the human warship approached the Varkian forces, it cloaked itself once again, slipping through space like a shadow. The Varkians, confident in their superior firepower, never saw it coming. They were too focused on their numbers, their weapons, and their reputation as the ultimate power in the galaxy. Then, without warning, the human warship struck. From the darkness of space, a series of focused precision blasts erupted from the warship's hidden weapons. The Varkian ships didn't have time to react. In seconds, the lead ship of the Varkian battle group was torn apart in a shower of flames. The shockwaves sent the surrounding ships into a panic, but it was too late. The human warship, already on the move, struck again, taking out another Varkian flagship before they could even fire back. "We're not even giving them a chance to retaliate," Harris said, his voice filled with awe. The Varkian fleet was in chaos. The massive ships, once feared across the galaxy, were now scrambling for survival. They had never experienced an enemy like this. The human warship, despite its small size, moved like a ghost, attacking with deadly precision. It was clear that the human crew had anticipated every move the Varkians could make. On board the warship, Alina and her crew fought with perfect coordination, each blow struck with devastating effect, each move a calculated step toward victory. The Varkian fleet was no match for the human warship's tactics. The Varkians, accustomed to overwhelming force, found themselves outmaneuvered and outclassed by a ship they had never even considered a threat. As the last of the Varkian ships was destroyed, Alina allowed herself a brief moment of relief. The warship had proven itself once again. Humanity had sent a clear message to the galaxy. We are no longer weak. We are no longer to be ignored. But that victory came at a cost. "Captain, we've detected a larger force approaching," Lieutenant Harris warned. "It's the full might of the Varkian Empire. They're sending everything they have left." Alina's eyes narrowed. This was far from over. The Varkian Empire wouldn't give up so easily. And worse, other empires might be watching, waiting for their chance to strike. This was the beginning of something much bigger than anyone had anticipated. "We've made our mark," Alina said, her voice steady. "But we haven't won yet. We're going to have to fight harder than ever before." The human warship, having defeated one of the galaxy's greatest powers, now faced an even greater challenge. An entire empire bent on wiping them out. Alina and her crew would have to use every weapon, every trick in their arsenal to survive. The galaxy had just realized that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and they would do anything to make sure that message was heard. As the human warship prepared for the next wave of battle, one thing was clear: the war was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The battle unfolds. The human warship, having obliterated the Tsarn fleet with unmatched precision, now faced an even greater test. The Varkian Empire, humiliated by their loss, sent everything they had left in a desperate bid to crush this human threat once and for all. Their flagship was a beast of war, a colossal ship armed with the deadliest weapons in the galaxy, surrounded by an armada of supporting vessels. Alina Drakes stood on the command deck, her gaze focused on the approaching Varkian fleet, their massive ships slowly filling the starboard view screen. The sheer scale of the Varkian force was overwhelming. But she didn't flinch. She had already faced impossible odds and won. This time, she would do the same. "All hands, brace for impact," Alina ordered. "Prepare to engage the Varkian fleet. Remember, we strike first, no hesitation." Her words resonated with the crew, who had been through the fire with her. They knew their captain wasn't just a leader. She was their protector. She had brought them through battle after battle. And now, they were ready to follow her into the heart of the storm. Lieutenant Harris worked swiftly at his station. "Captain, the Varkian ships are in range. They're powering up their weapons, but we've got the element of surprise. If we strike fast enough, they won't know what hit them." The crew was ready. The ship's systems hummed to life as the stealth technology flickered on and off, masking their presence in the vast void of space. The human warship darted forward with incredible speed, like a predator moving in for the kill. The first Varkian ship didn't even have time to react before a barrage of energy blasts erupted from the human warship's weapon systems. The explosion rocked the Varkian ship, its shields buckling under the force of the attack. The human warship wasn't slowing down. It continued its deadly approach, striking with perfect aim, targeting the weak points of each enemy ship. Varkian cruisers and destroyers exploded in flashes of light, their hulking forms no match for the devastating power of humanity's most feared weapon. The Varkian admiral, Borker, watched in disbelief as his fleet fell apart around him. His ships, designed to instill terror in any who dared to oppose them, were being torn apart by a single human ship. His first instinct was to call for reinforcements, but it was too late. The human warship moved too fast, its attacks too precise. The Varkian fleet was already in disarray. "They're faster than we expected," Vorker muttered to his officers. "We must adapt, regroup and fire at will. We cannot allow this ship to keep up its assault." But the Varkians had underestimated the human warship's capabilities. The human ship, with its superior speed and stealth, was like a shadow in the night, appearing in one place, striking with deadly force, and vanishing before the Varkian fleet could respond. The Varkians attempted to surround the human ship, but every time they tried, the human warship was already gone, attacking from an entirely new direction. The battle continued to unfold, with the Varkians struggling to mount a defense against the relentless precision of the human assault. Each time the enemy adjusted their strategy, the human warship had already anticipated their move, striking first and causing devastation. In the heart of the battle, Alina remained calm, watching as her crew executed their orders flawlessly. She had trained them for this moment, preparing them for the day when they would face the impossible. But nothing could have prepared them for the sheer scale of the Varkian response. Still, the crew was proving themselves time and time again. Their trust in each other and in their captain was unwavering. "Focus on the Varkian flagship," Alina ordered. "It's the heart of their fleet. If we take it out, the rest will crumble." The human warship shifted its focus, its weapon systems locking onto the Varkian flagship. The immense ship, bristling with weapons, began to fire. But the human warship was already on the move, dodging the blasts with lightning speed. Alina watched as her ship inched closer to the flagship. Her crew was preparing for the final assault. "All systems ready," Harris reported. "We've got a clear shot." With a sharp nod, Alina gave the command. "Fire." The warship unleashed its full power in a single devastating strike. The energy beams tore into the Varkian flagship, causing massive explosions to ripple across its hull. The flagship's shields faltered and collapsed under the force of the attack. The ship's weapon systems, which had once been feared across the galaxy, were silenced in an instant. For a moment, everything seemed to pause as the massive Varkian ship began to break apart, its destruction a sight of fiery devastation. Then, as if on cue, the remaining Varkian ships turned and fled, their once imposing forces now reduced to nothing more than a scattered and panicked remnant of their former strength. "Victory," Alina said quietly, her voice filled with quiet satisfaction. "We've done it." But her expression remained serious. She knew this battle wasn't over. The Varkian Empire might have been defeated today, but this was only the beginning of humanity's journey. Other empires would soon take notice. The galaxy had just seen what humans were capable of, and they would not rest until humanity was either destroyed or accepted as a powerful force in the galaxy. The crew cheered, but Alina's thoughts were already moving ahead. Their victory had come at a cost, and the road ahead would be even more difficult. As the crew began their recovery process, Alina looked out into the stars. "We've shown them what we're capable of," she said, her eyes hardening. "But the real battle has only just begun." The turning point. The destruction of the Varkian fleet was a moment of triumph for humanity, but Alina Drakes knew that it was only a temporary victory. The galaxy had now witnessed the true power of humanity's warship. The whispers had grown louder, spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. And soon, the most powerful empires would come to challenge them. But as Alina stared out into the cold expanse of space, she couldn't help but feel that their victory had only made things more dangerous for them. On board the warship, the crew had barely begun to celebrate when alarms blared across the ship. The atmosphere in the command center shifted instantly from triumph to urgency. "Captain, we've detected multiple fleets approaching," Lieutenant Harris reported, his voice tense. "They're coming from all directions. It's not just the Varkians this time. We've got an entire coalition of empires converging on our location." Alina's heart sank. She had known this day would come, but the sheer scale of the response was still shocking. The galaxy's most powerful factions were uniting to take down the human threat. They had seen humanity's warship in action, and now they would stop at nothing to destroy it before it could grow any stronger. "How many fleets?" Alina asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "At least 5 fleets," Harris replied, his eyes scanning the data. "And they're bringing their best ships. We're outnumbered, Captain. We've never faced anything like this before." The warship had been designed for speed, stealth, and precision. But against such overwhelming numbers, even the most advanced tactics might not be enough. Alina knew that the next few hours would decide humanity's fate. "We need to hit them first," Alina said, turning to her crew. "We've already shown them what we can do when they underestimate us. Now, we need to make them fear us even more. Prepare for a fast attack. We'll strike at their weakest point, disrupt their formation, and take out their command ships." The crew moved quickly, working in perfect synchrony. There was no time to waste. Alina's mind raced as she calculated their next move. She knew they couldn't afford to play it safe. The enemy would be expecting them to retreat or try to hide, but Alina had a different plan in mind. "Activate stealth mode," she ordered. "We move quickly, hit hard, and get out before they can retaliate. Let's make sure they remember the human warship." With the flick of a switch, the warship vanished from view, cloaking itself once again. As it moved into position, Alina's crew remained silent, each person focused on their task. The ship slipped through the enemy's sensors like a shadow, unseen, undetected. Alina's plan was simple but daring. Strike the enemy's weak spots, break their formation, and cause chaos. The galaxy's most powerful fleets had never faced an enemy that could move with such speed and precision. They had always relied on their superior numbers, on their overwhelming firepower. But humanity had shown that it didn't need to match its enemies in size to defeat them. The warship's strength lay in its ability to outthink, outmaneuver, and strike where it would hurt the most. The first blast from the human warship hit the lead fleet's command ship with surgical precision. The alien flagship, once the pride of its empire, was torn apart in an instant. The remaining ships in the fleet scrambled to react, but it was too late. The human warship was already moving to the next target. Another fleet fell apart in disarray as the human warship took out their engines, leaving them stranded in space. The enemy commanders, trying desperately to regain control, were helpless against the speed and unpredictability of the human warship. They had underestimated humanity once again, and it would cost them dearly. As the battle raged on, Alina watched the chaos unfold. Her heart pounded, but her mind remained sharp. Every move was calculated, every attack timed perfectly. The enemy was no longer a cohesive force. They were scattered, confused, and losing ships faster than they could replace them. "Captain, we've broken their formation," Harris said, his voice full of awe. "They're retreating. It's working." But Alina knew that the retreat wasn't a victory. The galaxy's most powerful empires would never stop hunting them. No matter how many battles they won, the war was far from over. "We can't let them regroup," Alina said, her voice hardening. "We take the fight to them. We destroy their command centers, cripple their fleets, and make sure they know that humanity isn't going anywhere." As the enemy forces began to scatter, the human warship followed them relentlessly, striking down ships one by one, cutting through their defenses like a blade through paper. The enemy had underestimated them once again, and this time it would cost them everything. But in the back of Alina's mind, a thought lingered. What would happen when they ran out of enemies to fight? What would happen when they had made the entire galaxy their enemy? And was humanity truly ready to face the consequences of their power? The tide of battle had shifted, but the true fight was only just beginning. The galaxy's panic. The battle had shifted in favor of humanity, but as the human warship continued its relentless campaign, the rest of the galaxy began to take notice. What had once been whispered rumors in dark corners of space had now become a terrifying reality. Humanity was no longer a small, insignificant race. They had shown that their warship was capable of destroying even the most powerful empires, and that alone had caused ripples throughout the galaxy. The news of the human warship's devastating powers spread quickly. The Tsarn, the Varkians, and other once powerful alien races were not the only ones watching. Allies of these empires, races that had remained neutral or even friendly with humanity, began to question their own allegiances. The question on everyone's mind was no longer if humanity would challenge the galaxy's powers, but when and how. In the vast halls of the Galactic Council, the leaders of the galaxy's remaining empires convened in an emergency meeting. The once proud and powerful representatives now sat in silence, their faces grim as the reports from their fleets continued to pour in. The Tsarn had been defeated. The Varkians were in retreat. It seemed that no matter how powerful their fleets were, humanity's warship had the ability to strike first, and with deadly accuracy. Something must be done. Votak, the leader of the Galactic Council, said, his voice low and filled with concern. "Humanity's warship has already proven it can break our forces. If we don't act now, it will continue its rampage across the galaxy. We cannot allow this to continue." One of the council members, a member of the Xelkrans, a robotic species that had long been one of the galaxy's most feared races, spoke up. "The warship's speed, its precision, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. We've underestimated the humans for too long. Their rise is no accident. We must unite," Votak continued, his voice rising. "All of us. We can no longer sit idly by while humanity turns the galaxy upside down. If we are to survive, we must form a coalition to destroy their warship before it grows too powerful." The room fell into a tense silence. The idea of forming an alliance with races that had been rivals for centuries was unthinkable to many of the members present. Yet there was no denying the danger humanity now posed to their way of life. Meanwhile, on the human warship, Alina Drake stood on the bridge, her eyes locked onto the star-filled expanse of space. The battle against the Varkians and their allies had been brutal, but the warship had proven its worth. Alina knew that humanity was on the verge of something monumental. The entire galaxy was watching, and soon they would have no choice but to act. "Captain," Lieutenant Harris called from the communication console, "We've intercepted a transmission. The Galactic Council is preparing a massive response. They've formed a coalition to take us down. They plan to send everything they have to destroy us." Alina's face tightened with determination. She had known this day would come, the moment when the galaxy would finally unite to stop humanity's rise. But now that it was here, she felt a rush of adrenaline. The warship had already proven its strength, But the coming battle would be unlike anything they had ever faced. The entire galaxy was about to come for them. "How many fleets are we talking about?" Alina asked, her voice calm but steely. "At least 10, Harris replied. "Some of the largest empires in the galaxy are joining forces. The Tsarn, the Varkians, the Xelkrans, they've all agreed to attack. This is going to be a full-scale war." Alina took a deep breath. She had always known that humanity's victory would come at a cost. But this was more than just a fight for survival. It was a fight for recognition, for respect. If humanity could survive this, the galaxy would never again look at them as a primitive race. They would be seen as a force to be reckoned with. "We'll take the fight to them," Alina said firmly. "We have no choice. If we let them come to us, we'll be trapped. We'll hit them where they least expect it. Strike fast. Strike hard. We won't give them the time they need to regroup. We'll make sure they know that humanity is not afraid to fight back." The crew around her nodded, their faces hard with resolve. They knew what was at stake, and they were ready to follow their captain into battle. Alina had led them through every challenge, and now they would face their greatest test. The human warship powered up, its engines humming with energy. Alina stood at the front of the bridge, her eyes focused on the stars. The crew had already started preparing for the coming battle, organizing strategies and readying their weapons. The time for talk was over. The galaxy was about to face the full force of humanity's resolve. "They think they can stop us," Alina muttered to herself, her voice barely above a whisper. "But they don't know us. They've never seen what humans are capable of when pushed to the edge." As the warship prepared to leave the safety of its hiding place and engage the galaxy's mightiest empires head-on, Alina felt the weight of their mission. The odds were against them, but there was no turning back. Humanity's warship had already shaken the galaxy to its core. Now it was time to make sure the galaxy never forgot the name of humanity. The final showdown. The moment had come. The galaxy's most powerful empires had united against humanity's warship, pooling their vast fleets and unmatched firepower to wipe out the one threat that had shaken their long-held dominance. There would be no more whispers, no more rumors. The fight for the survival of humanity was now an open war, one that would define the fate of the galaxy. The human warship, Captain Alina Drakes at its helm, drifted in the cold, infinite expanse of space. Their engines were silent, cloaked in the shadows of the cosmos, waiting for the inevitable. Across the bridge, the crew was ready, each person bracing for the final battle. "Captain," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice tight with anticipation, "all enemy fleets are in position. They're coming for us, and this time, they're bringing everything." Alina didn't need to be told how massive the coalition was. The readings on the display made it clear. This would be their greatest challenge yet. The combined fleets of the Varkians, Sarn, and Selkrans, along with reinforcements from several smaller empires, were all closing in on their location. The enemy's numbers were overwhelming. But Alina had one advantage. She knew how to fight when the odds were against her. "We'll make them regret underestimating us," Alina said, her voice calm yet filled with resolve. "Prepare to move. We strike fast, hit their command ships first, and disorient them. Don't give them a chance to retaliate." Her orders were simple but effective. It had always been about speed, surprise, and precision. Humanity's warship was not built for a head-to-head clash against fleets that outnumbered them. No, the strategy had always been to take the fight to the enemy, to disrupt their ranks, and make them doubt their ability to win. The warship cloaked itself once again, slipping through the vastness of space like a shadow. The massive coalition fleets appeared to be unaware of the threat lying in wait. Alina's eyes focused on the fleet's formation. Their command ships were at the core, surrounded by layers of defense. But those command ships were the key. Take them out, and the rest of the fleet would crumble. With a flick of a switch, Alina ordered the first wave of attacks. The warship's weapons came to life, delivering a series of brutal, focused strikes. The first command ship erupted in a brilliant explosion, sending debris scattering in every direction. The massive ship, designed to carry the weight of an entire fleet's power, was torn apart in seconds. The shockwave reverberated through space, sending a message to the rest of the fleet. "We've breached their defenses," Harris exclaimed, his eyes wide in disbelief. They didn't even have time to retaliate. The remaining enemy fleets scrambled to regroup, but it was already too late. The human warship had already moved to the next target. Its weapons struck with surgical precision, taking out one command ship after another. The shock and confusion spreading through the ranks of the coalition were palpable. They had been prepared for a fight, but they hadn't anticipated such swift, relentless attacks. As the battle raged on, the enemy fleets began to lose their coordination. Ships tried to regroup, but the human warship, moving like a phantom, struck again and again, destroying the heart of their fleets. Alina's strategy was working. The enemy couldn't keep up with the speed and precision of the human attacks. Every time they thought they had the warship in their sights, it vanished, only to reappear and strike again from an unexpected angle. But Alina knew that this wouldn't last forever. The enemy wasn't going to give up so easily. They had far more ships, far more firepower. It was only a matter of time before they adapted and began to counter the human warship's tactics. And yet, even as the odds continued to stack up against them, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that this fight would be the turning point. It had to be. Humanity had come too far to back down now. "Captain, we've taken out most of their command ships," Harris said, his voice now filled with awe. "The rest of the fleets are scattering. They're losing control." Alina nodded, but her expression remained hard. She could see the enemy's retreat, but she also knew that the battle wasn't truly over. The final phase was approaching, and the coalition wouldn't leave without a final attempt to crush the human warship once and for all. "We're not done yet," Alina said firmly. "We finish this now. Hit their reinforcements and take out their remaining support ships. They can't regroup. We can't let them." As the last of the enemy's command ships were destroyed, the remaining forces of the coalition, scattered and leaderless, began to fall into disarray. The human warship moved in once more, unleashing its full arsenal in a final devastating barrage. The remaining fleets, now leaderless and confused, were no match for the warship's final assault. One by one, the ships of the coalition exploded into the void of space, their once mighty forms reduced to nothing. The battle was won. The galaxy's greatest powers had been humbled by the most unexpected of enemies, humanity. Alina stood on the bridge, her face illuminated by the fading glow of the battle. Her heart still raced, but there was a sense of finality in the air. They had done it. The human warship had survived, and humanity had proven its place in the galaxy. "We did it," Harris said, his voice filled with disbelief. But Alina, looking out at the vast emptiness of space, knew that the victory was just the beginning. The galaxy would never forget the name of humanity. And the warship, its power, its precision, would become a symbol of what humanity was capable of. "We've shown them what we can do," Alina said, her voice quiet but resolute. "Now, the galaxy will remember." As the human warship sailed through the stars, leaving the remnants of a shattered coalition behind, the galaxy knew that humanity was no longer just a small, insignificant race. They were a force to be reckoned with, a force that had fought for its survival and had claimed its place in the galaxy's history. The final showdown had been fought, and humanity had emerged victorious. But the story of the human warship and the legacy of humanity itself was only just beginning.